Okay, great, guys. So, first of all, this is the very first pilot season of Tower Tag that we run here at the Virtual Athletics League. So we want to give a shout out to some of our co-hosts and sponsors this time. So VR Master League is doing all the casting, which is awesome. They have a lot of background history in shooters. They've done Onward and Pavlov and Final Assault, so just tons of professionalism there. Nightfire will be the caster today.
Yeah, he's been casting the tournament this entire time. Big shout out to him.
Yep, for sure. And so, if you have thoughts and prayers to send the universe, send thoughts and prayers for Nightfire's voice. So he's an awesome caster. Springboard has been a really good co-host on this one as well. What we've done is when we've announced the tournament worldwide for the arcades that are in our league, the very first version of Tower Tag has been available on the Springboard platform, which is new because Tower Tag was previously only available select through the developers. So this is awesome to see it get a much wider release worldwide.
Yeah, super exciting.
Yep. So for this first tournament, we basically went with 16 North American arcades and 16 European arcades. And we were able to draw some from those who had Tower Tag for a while, some who are new to Tower Tag, and a lot from the background of the history of our league. So that's where we're at currently. So the very first thing we're going to talk about, beyond just the basic structure of this, is we're going to talk a little bit about VR esports and why that's different. So, because these type of broadcasts are incredibly new to the industry. When people see VR esports on Twitch, it's a little bit insane. VR esports, like VR Master League and us and the Collegiate VR League and everybody has been doing this for well over a year now, but and VR's been out for 3 years, but even still, when we saw Half-Life Alyx drop, people are what is this VR thing, right? I remember when Onward was on Twitch and made it to the front page of Twitch, gamers' mind just pretty much exploded, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, even just standard esports has only been really a big thing for the past 10-ish years. And, PC gaming has been around since the 90s. And so now that we're here, we've picked it up just 2 years after the launch of VR, which is an incredibly early timeline, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, so I remember watching that Onward stream and people were wow, when you actually duck, you get down on the ground, right? That's totally new, that's totally different. There's so much more physicality in VR esports. And I really view it as the next evolution of the shooter, right? So one thing that's different in VR is if you're going to reload, you're not just pressing the B or X button or whatever. You're actually physically making the motions to reload your gun.
Yeah.
Which is so different, right? Until
crazy.
you've reloaded in a game like Onward or Pavlov or a game that has a reload mechanic, you're not just waiting for the animation, you're actually doing the reload function, right?
Yeah, and I've been to arcades with rail shooters, and some of them try to make it a little more realistic. Maybe you have to cock back the gun you're given, or put in just hit a button on the magazine. But this one you actually have to make the full range of motion, which I think is absolutely crazy. When people talk about different mediums, there's movies, there's books, but people always say games are the most immersive one because it's the most interactive, and VR seems to just be the next evolution of that.
Yeah, VR is definitely next generation for shooters and whatnot. So anyway, we're going to talk a bit about our league, just spend a minute talking about that and how we got here. So we're actually here at our broadcast studio in Salt Lake City. We started doing Space Pirate Trainer tournaments all the way back in 2016. And at least for this current generation of VR, this was some of the very first tournaments held worldwide, we think. Just doing some of the local ones. We were one of the very first VR arcades, first 5 or 6, open in North America. So when we started VR esports tournaments, people just lost their minds. It was really awesome. We'd have pizza, we'd have Super Smash Brothers and stuff like that. But it was an awesome time. We do 16-person single elimination brackets for Space Pirate Trainer. And anyway, we had somebody join us from another team. We really started to focus on what would benefit arcades worldwide, and not just the next physical expansion or next arcade location. And we got into an accelerator in San Francisco called Boost VC, and they pushed us to focus on what made sense to benefit arcades worldwide. So that's when we started working on the league. We'd held a small tournament with Sprint Vector. That was just 3 arcades. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I think we got a shout out to the Sergios team, which we've done events with now. But and then we did a 10 tournament Blasters of the Universe. And then we met the Beat Saber team down in the basement at GDC, in this nightclub where all the air conditioning had broken, and it's just been the Beat Saber devs and us, and the game hadn't been released yet, and we're like, hey, you guys are awesome. Maybe we'll work together down the future. So we went with a press release after Beat Saber had been released with just 50 arcades. And that was super ambitious. We're like, this is going to be huge. Nobody's ever done 50 arcades. Anyway, we just ended up with 168 arcades in 24 countries worldwide. So it was massive. And we were really happy to do the official Beat Saber tournament working hand in hand with the Beat Saber team. So since then, we've done a lot of top 10 titles like Space Pirate Trainer, Arizona Sunshine. We did Battle Wake earlier this year, Space Junkies, just a ton of VR esports. I think that's it, right? As far as background.
Yeah,
we have more stories.
So. There's a lot of little tidbits
donuts,
we can tell for sure.
early morning coffee, things like that.
Oh
We'll spare everybody's stories. So
man, late nights with international tournaments though, for sure.
Right.
Casting from America with European things, or oh my gosh.
Yeah. So anyway, we're gonna switch back here to Tower Tag. Let's actually throw up some footage from the World Conference in VR that was held recently in China.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. So you're going to see like a full Tower Tag setup.
Yeah, it's just super short clip, but super amazing. Yep.
牙齿三到这边还没有往回拉，还在往前跳，很凶，凶，还凶死了一个。我要拿你的头，我要赢。是的，哇，我是没有想到，因为刚刚一号是一个满血的状态。那个血他还敢往前跳，没有选择后退，在那样的一个情况下。是的，他进步也拼对了，但是目前比分还是一个2-2平。啊，这一局是打了一个。
Okay, so that was the video from the World Conference in China, and that's just Nathan. What did you think of that setup there?
Oh man, that was crazy. I think that it looks a lot like the setup I saw from the League of Legends tournament when Worlds was hosted in China. I wonder if it's the same stadium, but that really adds a lot of legitimacy. I feel like, you know, we get to play in that same stadium that like one of the most popular games in the world gets to be on, and we get to be there seeing like the physical players actually move instead of having cameras just on like players on their computers. It's really a whole lot more immersive, and you feel like it's like more of a traditional sport.
Yeah, and that's totally what we're about here at VAL. And you saw the players like over there in China. They're like dodging, they're ducking. Tower Tag is awesome, and it's perfectly suited for that. So we're going to talk a little bit about the history of Tower Tag and just what makes that a little bit different. And just talk a little bit about the team. So the Tower Tag team, VR Nerds is the developer. They are actually located in Germany. And a fun fact about them is that one person on their team, one of the founders, actually won the paintball world champion with Germany in 2011.
I did not know that. That's
Yeah,
super
isn't that
cool.
crazy? So
Yeah.
Philip, he's out there, hit him up. So and say, hey, guess what I know about you? You're a paintball world champion, right?
I feel like that's on a quick side note, I feel like that's a big difference between the VR athletes and the traditional esports athlete. You know, not to slight them or any way,
Oh
but
yeah,
VR
'cause
athletes tend to be
League of
pretty
Legends
fit.
are super skilled, right?
Yeah,
So
super skilled.
Yeah.
But the VR athletes, they tend to be like fairly physically fit.
right, yeah. I'm pretty sure Logan Theobald, he's topping the Beat Saber leaderboards.
Yeah.
He could currently run a mile pretty fast, I think,
He's
right?
jacked.
Well, maybe if he used his arms to run.
Yeah, it's like a weird bear crawl.
Anyway, he also saves bees, I hear, or children from bees. So Logan does great. Anyway, so what we're seeing a lot of VR esports here is we're seeing an inspiration from the world of traditional sports, and Tower Tag is actually based on a sport, right? So there's not any like futuristic lore or anything like that attached to it. What it's really based on is like you get your opponent out, right? You're not killing your opponent, like it's not a cyber punk, future city. It's actually just like a sport based in the future, right? And it's really just an eye catcher. The very first version was just like some real like mock-ups and like, hey, let's have some platforms and everything right there. It doesn't need a huge space. So actually the very first uses of Tower Tag were obviously in VR, obviously the VR Nerds location, but laser tag centers have actually picked this up.
Oh, that's cool.
So we actually have a laser tag center, which is totally unique. They're one of the final 4 contestants, and that's Laserland. And when we talked to them, they're like, hey, we're not a VR arcade, but we just picked up these 4 VR sets, and it's actually proved super popular there. So we are gonna show actually a few pictures from a Tower Tag setup. And so we're going to show VR Room, actually. So, you know, that right there, that's, let's switch back to that just one more time. So you see that right there, like they actually have the base. The base is made out of plywood typically, and then you have like a steel frame for safety, and then you actually have the towers, which are made out of super thick acrylic, right? People just love those towers. They're super eye-catching in arcades to have them.
And it's just fun to have something like to interact with VR, you know, leads a little bit more into like augmented reality or those like old Wii things you could get, like the Wii gun and like all that, and the Wii Fit.
Yeah, so let's actually show that in action with VR Room. Okay, so shout out to VR Room, which put in like 8 teams in this tournament. We'll go over the brackets here in a bit. But obviously that setup has worked amazing for them. They just get so much return play. They get corporate parties, they get birthday parties. Everyone loves the towers in VR Room, and it's been like ultra successful and like a smash hit for them to have those full tower setups. But you can see why, right? Like when you check that out, like that is immediately eye-catching. You walk into a VR arcade location, that's one of the very first things people are going to want to play.
Yeah, and this is like a super simple game that you can easily get into it. Like you just really quickly explain the rules, and it's like super simple, super fun, and yeah, all around good time.
Yeah, so people can pick that up in 30 seconds, which is really key on the arcade scene. Okay, we are gonna go over one of the brackets here shortly. And pull up how the tournament has been going.
Yeah, so as you can see, the European bracket, we have about 8 teams on the VR Room site, which is insane. They're a VR arcade based in the Netherlands, and they pretty much take up half the European bracket, which I am completely astounded by.
Yeah, so we have these brackets up on Challenge, and we're just going to run through a quick recap of how the tournament is going so far. So first we're going to cover some of the EU matches, right? So we had VR Cafe put in an incredible amount of rooms. They have 8 total teams. And they actually played VR Cafe 1 versus VR Room 2 as a couple of play-in brackets to this, so you can kind of see those pigtail brackets. And then we have VR Room 8 versus VR Cafe. Some of those advanced to the top of the bracket. VR Reality was knocked out fairly quickly against Laserland here at the top. And then we actually have Tower Tag and VR2 Go. They advanced pretty quickly onto Laserland, which has proved a super tough team to beat. VR Reality maybe had a bit of bad luck because VR Reality actually won the Skyfront tournament.
Yeah, no, they were really good in that one.
So both tough teams in that first match. And we had Limitless and Nautilus. Nautilus progressed on for there. Then we had Vertigo, which has participated in some previous Valve events. But this was really the first time they put together a PvP team. And they ended up playing against the team in Barcelona. And then we had V-Redum, which knocked out quickly the second Vertigo team.
Yeah.
So, you know, that proved to be super tough opponents right there in the first one.
Yeah, just this bracket in general, we've had a lot of like new up-and-coming arcades that have knocked out a lot of the old favorites from previous tournaments.
Yeah, the VR
really
Reality one
to
was
see.
a bit of an unexpected, right? But credit to Laserland for just running such a professional event there. Okay, and then we move on to the other brackets. Once we get down to the Final Four over here, we had VR Cafe, right, which proved to be the best of the VR Room teams. And that was the awesome setup you saw. They made it really far in the event, but Laserland just proved to be too dominant in this and just knocked them out. So in terms of the VR Room teams, VR Cafe 1 was their best right there. So VR Room actually has a couple locations. That's an incredible story. If you ever, they've made the national news media, you know, and they have at least one location in Amsterdam. They actually had the second team in the Final Four here, VR Room 5, and both of the VR Room teams were knocked out. So, but they made it really incredibly far. And this is actually the very first PvP tournament with us here at Val.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
They did an awesome, incredible job for making as far as they did. Then we had Laserland, and then we had V-Redum, which are both German teams. So the developers located in Germany, and the two
home field
finalists.
advantage.
Home field advantage, right? But V-Readem is a newer VR-Cade they opened up earlier this year. They've just been having incredible success with that, and they have proved super tough opponents to beat here. So, switching back over to the North American bracket, we had Virtuality's Advanced Beyond Heroes. We had Outer Limits take out VR Place. And then we had VR Place move on past Parallel. Although shout out to Parallel, they ran a sweet, super hot speedrun tournament here recently. VR Junkies Arizona, which has been a super strong team. I think they won Kingdom Brawl and a few others. We had XSVR versus Spot. XS moved on. And then, of course, we had the Spectrum team. So we're going to show a quick match here from Spectrum in just a minute. But as we advance to the Final Four here, Outer Limits has done awesome. Quick background on Outer Limits, they won Archangel about a year ago, so they have proved a super tough team to beat. VR Place 1 also has the tower setups. They made it to the Final Four. XSVR had a team put together by Pesky Cashew. XSVR was a new team here. And they lost to Spectrum, which is bad luck of the draw because Spectrum just won Battle Week.
Yeah.
And then you have Bluff City VR, which did an incredible job. They actually upset one of the Spectrum teams here and then moved on to face Spectrum. The Spectrum 2 versus Bluff City was a lot of people's one of their favorite matches. It ended up being one of the closest matches of the tournaments. And then we have two total powerhouses here with Outer Limits and Spectrum VR wrapping the bracket.
Yeah, and just a note on Spectrum as well, like they didn't just win the battle weight competition, they like completely blew it out of the water. They were the ones who figured out that you could get like a maximum score
Yeah.
on the system. It was crazy.
Yep, so they just dominated. Okay, so that's what we have here. We're going to go over a quick highlight of one match. We're going to show XSVR versus Spectrum to give an idea of what matches came up before. And then we are going to do the Final Four. So quick outline of the schedule for today. We are going to do the North American Finals first. So the North American Finals are, again, those two powerhouse teams. So Spectrum, which won Battle Wake, Archangel, which are
Outer Limits that won.
which has the Archangel magic there. And then we're going to go with the two German teams. That's what we're going to do. And then we're going to switch over to VRML. So we're really happy everybody is here with us today. This basically concludes our pre-show. We are going to switch over to that earlier match, and then VRML is going to pick up the rest of the hosting for here.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay.
On board XSVR, the top fragger for Ice. He has to readjust. He has to find this pick, but he can't get any land movement. Shots coming in from VR Nerd, able to deny the cap. And now Fishman getting assist from his team. Hensai there duoing on that tower cap, and now 4-0. They are absolutely running over this XS squad with coordination and precise shots. Landing those kills is so important because it does add to your land control. If you get these picks right here, if VR Nerd goes down like this, that's 5 to 8 seconds that he's respawning. He cannot be helping. He cannot defend the land grabs. He cannot be grabbing land. It's missed time that Spectrum are really good at capitalizing on. They recognize that once they get a pick that they can cap. Here comes Kensai, looks like, or sorry, Brand Domino's trying to get the point, but he can't all by his lonesome. I mean, look at that. Look at that team fire there. They had, I think they had all three players shooting at the same one there. And here comes the team push. There's going to be two on both sides. As they do start the cap, it's going to be a quick one. 5-0 in no time. Spectrum just keep tacking on. I believe that there is another matchup just after this. The winner from here will be facing off. To double check on who it is that they will be competing against. But oh, look at this. VR Nerd able to get behind the Ice Squad. Tries to cap, and we're into a base race, and they do not get it in time. The teamwork on the fire objective ends up paying off, and they snag the point just before Ice can, adding on to their scoreline 6-0. Good teamwork coming in from this Ice Squad. They managed to push up. They can really secure some strong land grabs now with these respawns. Ooh, and this is good teamwork coming in from this squad right now. XSVR and VR Nerd really being a serious threat, and now for the first time, Spectrum on the back foot. XSVR is trying to cap, and he can get Heist on the board. XS finally gets a point up there, but is it too little too late? I think now XS has roughly 50 seconds to get 5 points. That's a point every 10 seconds. I don't even think they can get to objective that fast. They certainly are trying. Quick pushes up to the center with the full squad. Nobody's sitting back on defense, and maybe that's what they have needed to have done this whole time. Comes the push from Fishman. Again, getting that central position. He's unshootable through that glass, and he's capturing the points surrounding it so that it's easy for him to move. Fishman is losing a little bit, and XSVR is adjusting accordingly. A nice job from him. But this is not looking good. Oh, a good set of kills from XS. Keep things alive. Preventing another point, but again, too little, too late. Timer runs out. Spectrum end up going up 6-1 for map number 2. I think that is it. I don't believe we play out the third map. That will be the victors of this series.
Yeah, and so that was the conclusion to the Spectrum versus XS match. As you can see, it was a pretty hard 6-1 smash for that round. I think they won 2-0 for that, which was pretty incredible. Spectrum is one of our powerhouse arcades.
So we're just going to show, we threw up a picture in the Discord of the Outer Limits team, but this is the Spectrum V Arcade. They actually have 2 locations over in Fort Wayne, Indiana. But as you can see, they're very serious about their esports. This is their awesome setup, as they have Space Pirate Trainer up there. And they are one of the teams to beat. So we're going to see how they do shortly. You can see how serious they are about the league as well, since they have a full Hall of Wall of Glory right here, right? Very early days of VR esports, and we are super excited to see these matches. They are loading into the rooms right now, and we are going to start seeing that here shortly. So, best of luck to everybody today. This is the long-awaited conclusion of the very first pilot tournament for Tower Tag for Season 1, and we look forward to more Tower Tag action in the future. We wish Outer Limits good luck today. Spectrum, good luck. Laserland, and that's it. So we're going to know the finals here shortly, and then they're going to do prize delivery, and good luck to all.